So now you've purchased Ace Virtual Shooting and you want to know how to train with it. If so, you've come to the right video. What's up guys, my name is Rob Epifania. I'm a USPSA Grandmaster and I'm the owner of Systematic Performance Concepts. In this video, we're going to talk about how do I train effectively with Ace Virtual Shooting. If you're wondering what Ace Virtual Shooting is, it is a app that is used with the Meta Quest 2, 3, or 3S and uses a firearm-based handset that holds the controller and allows you to train virtually inside their world with a bunch of different USPSA stages that are a lot of fun, along with many other drills, thrills, and fun things to do. With that said, this video is about training. So, how do we effectively train with our Ace Virtual Shooting? So I'm going to talk about my personal experience. This is how I use it. I've been using it this way for a couple of months, and for me, it's been translating over into better live fire performance as well. So we're going to outline that for you guys. Now, first thing I do, for one, like every other training session you should have, anybody who's training routinely here, you should have some training book of notes, journal, right? A board, a document on your computer. That's just good practice. So I have a small notebook I purchased from Amazon and I put all my notes in here. How I am currently using Ace Virtual Shooting. My typical training session is about an hour or so. I don't train to a specific time. I train until I'm done. I train until I have a feel that I've accomplished a good amount for the day. What I typically do, so just so you know, I use the Bobo VR M3 head strap and I use a battery pack here. When that battery pack starts to run out, typically that's about when I stop. Now, what I do is I train with this series on the game. So the series are four or five stages in a row that you have to do well on all of them in order to get a great score on the leaderboard. It takes away from the getting lucky one time, because you have to get lucky 4 or 5 times in a row, and that's not so easy to do. A lot of times people chase leaderboard scores and they'll just look to get one lucky rep, and as a result they perform a bunch of junk repetitions, bad repetitions that just reinforce bad habits, and it doesn't help them perform better. So series is a good way to eliminate some of that, along with replicating match-based conditions better. When I train the series, I pick at random one of them. I typically have 6 or 7 that I rotate through. So 1, 2, let me double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, including the movement one that I'm just able to start doing now with the way my living room is currently set up. So I'll pick 2 or 3 of them to train on a day. I will record the first repetition, so the first repetition and the best repetition. Okay, the first score and the best score. Why? We always want to record the first score because that is going to be the most replicable, that's going to be the most similar to our match conditions. Okay, when we're shooting a match, we get 1 try, right? We get our first try, and our first try is the one that we get for score. So recording the first one is very, very important to see where you are. Now, with that said, I'll do this a bunch of times, sometimes 3 repetitions, sometimes 5, sometimes 7, depending on what I'm gaining out of it. And if I'm at the point where I can actually I'm working on bringing up my scores with good intentionality in my training, I'll continue to train on this. And I'll record my best score. So the purpose of recording the best score is to know what's possible. Okay. What's the best I can get out of this today? Now, over time, you want the trend to start to trend upward, meaning first scores and best scores are getting higher. As a good goal, the higher level shooter you are, the more applicable this is. A good goal is to be within 5% difference between your first and best score. So there's no more than 5%. That is challenging to do, especially when you're really going at it, trying to get a better score. A good standard is to be between 5 and 10%. If you can stay between 5 and 10% between your first score and your best score, that's generally going to translate into better performance when you only have one chance, because you get to know that, hey, my first score is generally pretty good and I know what it takes to get there. And that's going to help you tremendously when you're shooting a match. Now, if you're able to get outside of 10%, one of two things has happened. Either you had something that just didn't go your way, which occasionally does happen. It's just like it wouldn't have matched. Occasionally something doesn't go your way. You have to be able to swallow that and kind of move through, right? Or you had to bust your ass. This is the better situation. This is what I want. If I'm going to get above 10% higher, I want to have busted my butt to be able to get that 10% score. That also says, listen, for me to really do better than 10% better, I have to work really, really hard to do it, right? So first score, record that. Best score, record that. Check the difference. They should be at least within 10%, ideally within 5%, or you know that you worked really hard to get there, right? That's going to help you start to build confidence in your first run capabilities. After that, I usually do 2 to 3 of those series in a session, and then I'll start to move into drills. Maybe I want to improve something on a drill. Maybe there's a metric within the series that I'd like to improve upon. That's the great part about ACE, is because it gives you every shot on every target. You can pick 1 or 2 things within a drill and use that to your advantage to practice that one thing on working on that one thing only. Going into the drills, at this point, I'm generally looking for a good 2 or 3 first repetitions on a drill, and then I'm looking to try to just drive up score. How can I drive up score without getting into junk rep territory? And that involves paying attention to the right things and really focusing on those 1 or 2 or 3 things within the drill that are going to be able to give you the success you want, right? The idea is not to hook up and be lucky. The idea is to have generally high scores, and then maybe one goes a bit higher than the others, right? So that's something to pay attention to for you guys. Once you guys realize that you're not paying attention to what's going on anymore, at this point, it's probably best to pull yourself back to 1 repetition, back to, hey, this is a for real repetition. I'm going to do this for real, and then move on. Or if you really recognize you're way out, pause for a second, go to a different drill. The idea is to not be doing many of those junk reps. Now, that's 4 days a week. That's my structure. 1 day a week, I take each series and I do it once, and once only. I'm not allowed to do them again, and I'm not allowed to do any drill in those series again. So all of those exercises within those series are off limits. I'm allowed to train any other drill after that, but these are not. So the idea is, this is a long, this ends up being 30, 35 stages worth of training, and it forces me to really put the proper amount of attention into everything. And because I'm not allowed to do it again, I'm not allowed to do it again. How it goes is how it goes. The goal is that my first scores stay pretty true. So maybe some will be a little lower, some will be a little higher, but the average typically stays about the same, right? It also teaches you that you have to be able to be resilient and work through if something is a challenge, and be able to figure out what process is going to get you the best results. That's usually my Saturdays. My Saturday is the day that I do this. I do all of them at once, and then I'll just train some drills just for the same kind of thing. Get some good baseline scores, try to get the scores up, try to go up on the leaderboard without getting into the, hey, I'm going to get lucky one time and move on. That's not the intention. That's not good training. And then lastly, so my Sunday is what I call randomization day. And the purpose behind that is I largely do drills. I don't do the series that day, but I'm picking drills and I'm doing different sequences, different orders, each repetition. So the intention is to constantly be changing up things and look for good general performance throughout that. This randomization training is very good at building robust skills that are going to hold up over time, and learning to flush the occasional repetition that you'd like to take back and being able to flush it and get ready to perform for the next one. These skills are highly, highly useful. And you also find out that when you do most of these drills in certain ways, reasonable ways, that the scores are going to be about the same when you do everything properly. So that session is very, very useful to being able to build robust skill sets that can handle match pressure, that can handle pressure for only one run, on-demand performance. With that said, every session also, after I'm done writing down all the data information in terms of first scores, best scores. I write down what went well and why, so I can become an expert in my best performances and how to get more of them. And I also pick one thing that I would like to do better. And that could be anything. But during the session, I'll probably notice something that I would like to make a little bit better. And I'll write that down as in the positive action that I would like to happen. So for instance, if you're having an issue with steel, I'd say I'd like to go 1 for 1 on steel by seeing the dot in the center and waiting for it to lift, right? Giving myself the image of what I want to happen in order to get more of it and to be thinking in the right direction versus thinking the wrong way, thinking of what the negative action is. So these things help me tremendously. Guys, if you have ACE, if you start training this way, I'll guarantee you guys will start to see progress. I detail this in my accelerator program for any of my students that are in there, and you guys now have the framework to be able to start to train. When you do train the 1 or 2 things that are most important to you. The 80-20 rule is in effect here. So 80% of your outputs are generally related to 20% of your inputs, which usually relates to 1 or 2 big ticket items. Figure out what those are, go at them hard, and you're going to see your results progress much faster. Guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in ACE, acexr.com. And if you guys have any questions, comments you'd like me to answer, put them down below. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.